Hello, everyone. We're here again with Natural Freedom League. I am John Wydogen, here with my producer and co-host, Chill Will Keller.
What's up, brother? How's it going?
It's going good.
Cool, man.
You all can find us at naturalfreedomleague.com as usual. And today we are here to discuss the next couple of months' plans for Natural Freedom League and what we intend to do during this spring season. We are calling it the Season of Sovereignty. And we have been working with our good friend Mike Mattingly, known as Funky Fathers. And he's a musician, and he recorded a acoustic album in Will's studio. We put that down and got his freedom songs, his protest songs recorded, and we put out the digital copy of the album. And Mike went on his tour uh, earlier in 2020. In August of 2020, he had done the half of the states of the mainland of America. And then he went out. When did he leave? I guess early March, and did the East Coast. And so we were promoting his album. And it was pretty amazing. He covered a lot of ground. Pretty crazy how much ground he covered in such a short period of time. About 2 weeks or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Boy, it
And
was moving, man. Capital to capital.
exactly. Yeah, that's what he was calling it, the capital tour. And yeah, he has made his way back to Santa Cruz in under 2 weeks. And he did, I believe, 23 capitals. Plus, he hit up the CDC, the Georgia Guidestones. He also hit up Tuskegee University, which was where the Tuskegee trials took place. If you don't know what that is, look it up. It's very appropriate for this time that we're living through of mandated vaccines and forced medical procedures. So he's coming back, and this Saturday he's returning to his hometown, Santa Cruz, where they have been doing a concert and a sunset bonfire for the last 30 some odd weeks throughout this whole pandemic. And he wanted to kind of culminate his tour there. And so it will be on March 20th at about 5:30 in the evening. And so we, acting as his kind of promoters, were thinking of uh, some type of concept to work this in with our own projects. And so I thought of the Season of Sovereignty, which is in place of what is commonly known as the Season of Sacrifice. So, Will, why don't you tell us a little bit about what the Season of Sacrifice is?
Yeah, the season of sacrifice. So this is a 41-day period. We have 4 seasons, and we're coming up on the spring equinox, which equinox means equal night. So, and this is the time, this is spring, this is the time of growth and life and everything coming to fruition. In the past, this is where you'd plant your crops, right? But they twist it. The season of sacrifice is for the dark occultists. They always invert and pervert everything. So in this time where you would give thanks, your blessing to the earth for bountiful crops or anything that is love and life, birth and growth. Um, they do the opposite. They take this time and they want to shed blood on their for their dark religion that they abide to. And ultimately, this is a dark solar cult. These are the social engineers and the manipulators that are controlling society. And so this time period is the season where they are going to um, shed blood, right, to gain an energetic uh, advantage on people. So this is an energetic ritual that they do. This These rituals, this time of the year, the season of sacrifice, it's been going on for thousands of years, and they keep the tradition going in a dark, twisted way. Um, there's a list of events that have happened during these 41 days. So it officially starts on March 22nd, which is the equinox, the spring equinox. And then it ends on May Day, which is May 1st. And I have a list of dates and events that we can talk about. And it's, it's pretty deep and gnarly shit. So, but that's their intention. They use this time period to shed blood for for the black sun, their dark solar religion, their cult that they follow.
Right. And so, what I understand, I rewatched Mark Passio's presentation on this topic of the season of sacrifice. From what I understand, the equinox lands around the 20th to the 21st, but what it represents is the sun coming up above um, a certain what's the line that it's coming above?
It it's the horizon, it's the equator. It's at 0 degrees, and now it's just breaking 0 degrees. So you're getting more daylight. So the equinox is equal day and night. So it's at the 0 degree radius, relative to the tilt of the earth to the sun.
Right. And
So
the 22nd represents when it's fully above the line. So the display that Mark Passio uses is the zodiacal cross, and that the sun, is basically crossing over from, underneath that line to above it into the next month. And technically, this would be considered the beginning of the year, right? In ancient cultures.
yeah, it's that's what I consider it as well. You're at the beginning of life, new beginnings. There's a lot of cultures that see, uh, you know, late December, December 31st, that time, and even January to be the beginning because it's just starting to come out of darkness. So you have again the equinox. So it's where it's at its lowest point, where it's dark. This is winter, and then right when it starts to pass that line or below that line, then you're in the new beginning. So I think the majority of cultures that I know, it's usually the spring equinox is usually the new solar year.
Yeah, because it's
So,
fully into the northern hemisphere, and it's the time where we can plant and grow things. And so part of that idea of sacrifice was probably not as negative as it's been turned into on some level. They kind of believed that sacrificing something to the earth would bring them better crops, right?
yep, exactly.
Better luck or whatever. And so who knows, maybe it was just an idea that got taken out of hand or to extremes. I mean, obviously you read in the Bible about different sacrifices of animals and things like that to the gods. And so and that's obviously true of many cultures, but basically, in this time frame from uh March 20th, 22nd through May 1st, there's just been a lot of events that have been orchestrated by this dark occult ruling class. And it reminds me kind of similar to if you ever research the Bohemian Grove and their cremation of care. They twist it and they make it seem like, oh, we care so much all year long, so during this 2-week period that we're in the forest, hanging out with our buddies, we're cremating care, so we're not going to care about all the world problems and stuff like that. But if you look at it another way, it's that they are doing this symbolic act of cremating care in general, and that is their ultimate goal, is to get rid of care in society and get the masses to stop caring about the negative actions that are taking place.
Yeah, absolutely. Ultimately, these people, they're a death cult. It's a dark solar cult, and the season of sacrifice, it's to they want to celebrate and motivate themselves on an energetic level to be the adversary of natural law, of nature. So this is a time, it's spring, it's a time of life, of growth, of new beginnings. They want to taint that as much as possible, and they want to make it a time of death and sacrifice. So it's pretty dark. They always try to invert shit.
Right. And so, years ago, when I was just starting to understand the occult influence on all of the things that are going on in the world, I think early on I looked into conspiracies, but I didn't really connect it to the occult. Um, I didn't understand the occult significance of it. But then you start recognizing the numbers and how they use different, numbers over and over again. And that, there's some type of planning there, there's some type of power to these numbers. And these this usage of these numbers and these times and certain times of the year and energies is not doesn't have to be a negative thing, but they make it so taboo that no one wants to look into it, no one wants to use it in a positive way, because we're just kind of taught to think that it's all negative. But in reality, that's how this occult ruling class has twisted it. They've put a negative spin on it all. They've made the word occult taboo. They don't want you to, they want you focused on the exoteric religions, and stuck in those. And those religions will always look down on this occult knowledge and knowledge of numerology and knowledge of astrology and knowledge of the different times of the year and the powers and the significance of these times of the year. And so once I started realizing it, I have a video about it. It's on our YouTube page. And it was around the Christmas time, and I had been reading this book. It was the Aquarian Gospel of Jesus the Christ. And it was a man, I forget his name, but he was from the early 1900s, and he had basically channeled through the Akashic records the whole life story of Jesus. And then he wrote it, and in this story, Jesus, from 13 to 30, where it's left out of the Bible, he fills in the blanks and says that Jesus traveled the world and learned from different all different cultural practices of healing, Hinduism, Buddhism, all these different techniques. And ultimately he actually ended up going through the pyramid and going through an initiation ritual and being tempted in there. And he came out the other end crowned as the Christ. And the one thing that I found significant about that story is that they really focused on that when Jesus passes and then he ascends, the gift that he leaves us all is the Holy Spirit. So the Holy Spirit, if you're not Christian, the Holy Spirit can just be the life force. It's just that energy that we can all tap into and we can all utilize. And so I kind of came to the realization this one day. I was coming home from work, sitting in traffic, and I started realizing, how easy would it be for the ruling class to create a traffic jam, right? And then in a place like where we live in the Bay Area, California, they create this traffic jam, and you're sitting there in traffic on a Friday night, and I'm just thinking, just think of all the negative energy in this field right here, and how that negative energy is going into the atmosphere and into the spiritual realm, and affecting how we all behave and how we all are feeling, and
Mm-hmm.
that they can just, through something like that, they can create, this negative um, belief system, negative feeling about life in general, a sense of hopelessness. And so I came up with this idea. Well, I'm going to just create a holiday. And I know it sounds kind of crazy, but it was like, I'm going to call it Holy Spirit Day. And it's basically like, focusing on the fact that we can all tap into this spirit. We can all raise our spirit. We can all rise out of this negative mire that we're stuck in. And one of the when I was like telling this to all my friends who thought I was crazy, and I am a little crazy, but
We all
you
are a little bit, right?
exactly. The one thing that stuck out to me, so it happened to be on December 7th. And part of the thought process was, I was it was in 2012, so I was aware of the occult significance of numbers and events, and I was thinking, we were coming upon December 21st, 2012, which everybody was anticipating as the next end of the world, the end of the Mayan calendar, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking, well, they're probably going to do something on 12 12 12, right? Because if they are, satanic, and then 666 is the number of the beast. 12 12 12 would be a doubling of that number. And there were a lot of weird dates like that. Like, you had 11 11 11, up starting from the year 2000. You had 1 1 1 2 2 2, and that only goes up to 12 12 12, right? And then after that, you don't have that again for another 100 years. So I'm thinking they're going to do something on 12 12 12. So the idea of creating this holiday was to sort of put something in the air that was going against this negative uh, uh, event that they may be planning, or they may be, some type of false flag that they may be trying to pull off. So the date was December 7th that I made Holy Spirit Day.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started telling people about it. And I was telling my cousin about it. And he can tend to be kind of a naysayer, especially when I have a good idea. And he was like, well, that's Pearl Harbor Day. I think it's Pearl Harbor Day, or it's either I think it's Pearl Harbor Day, or it's D Day. I should know, but anyway, it's one of
Mm.
those days. But my instant answer was, we're taking it back, you know, because that's exactly what they do, right? They do these events, and then it becomes a holiday. It becomes a national holiday. 9/11 is like their holy holiday, right?
Yeah.
Every year it's like you have to remember it, and well, what are we remembering about this? Half the people don't even know the facts of what happened that day, but every year you're basically shamed into celebrating that day, reliving that negative energy over and over. And that's part of the ritual. So the concept of, we're taking it back. We don't have to keep reliving all these negative events that they force upon us. We're reclaiming it.
Yeah.
And so that's the idea of the season of sovereignty.
Yeah, man. That's important, man. I mean, it's all about your state of mind, and this is a spiritual, energetic war that we're in. And another thing I was going to say too, when you know how they like their numbers, right? So March 22nd, 322 is also the order of the skull and bones, right?
Yep.
So they use that. But you know, the false flags, and it's all about energy, getting the people, the masses, into a state of mind, a frequency that they can just suck your life force energy out of. And you know, that's ultimately why they have these cities, and these cities are laid out a certain way on ley lines. And you know, it's all about the dark occult, and occult in general is just hidden. This is what they don't want you to know. They don't want you to know the science of nature, and they use this science against people, and it's all about energy, for sure.
Exactly. So I wrote up a little something for as we start promoting this. We're basically kicking it off on March 20th, which will be um, the Capital to Capital celebration concert, where Funky Fathers and the Freedom Foundation will be playing the their songs from the album, but also um, more songs, because Mike does have more songs than the 9 that he recorded for the album. And when he plays with the Freedom Foundation, it's basically a full band. I mean, I think he's still looking for a bass player, but from time to time there are different bass players who come out and play with him. Ultimately, he does want to record the whole album with a live band. Um, so we'll be out there in Santa Cruz on Saturday at about 5:30. We'll probably be there a little bit early. We're going to have our tables set up. We're going to have information like we normally do. And we're joining in with Mike, and then also David Rodriguez and the whole crew that they have out there, who, there's been a lot of people in Santa Cruz doing a lot of good positive events to combat this fear-based campaign of the pandemic.
Hmm.
So I'm just going to read the thing I wrote up to give you a better sense of what we're thinking. The season of sovereignty. As we enter into the season of life, beginning with the vernal equinox, spring, and continuing through summer, Natural Freedom League is officially reclaiming and celebrating this time as the season of sovereignty, as life is not truly being lived unless we are free from the illegitimate rule of others. We claim our innate ability to rule ourselves by using knowledge, understanding, and wisdom, the trivium, in order to discover and come into alignment with objective truth and morality, also known as natural law. In this time period, we have a variety of public educational outreaches planned, and we are providing detailed information as to how we conduct our events in order for others to organize their own events as well. So
Mm.
the idea is to um, plan out exactly what we're going to do. We're trying to do events every other week, so we'll plan them out at least up till May 1st. I do think that 40-day period is significant, that we should focus on that. But this is obviously something we want the momentum to take off with. And then we Will had come up with the idea to create a protocol of how we do our events, which is really pretty basic, but just to create that and to provide it to the people in our email list and anyone who might be interested in doing the type of pop-up educational campaigns, educational demonstrations that we do, where we just go to a location, bring a little table, bring some papers, and set up. And just it's basically just a town square type situation, where if someone wants to come up and get some information, they can get it, and play a little music. Maybe bring out some snacks for people to partake of, and um,
It's simple. It's simple and effective because you can do it really anywhere, right? I mean, John was doing it by himself for a long period of time until we hooked up.
yeah,
So, you know, and it's just mainly about just getting people out there and, doing something different than just online, getting there, getting eye contact, face to face. And this is what it's all about, doing the opposite, the counter energy. And they want people to stay inside. They don't want people to speak. Well, you get loud and you get out there. So it works
Exactly.
good.
Especially when we're dealing with so much censorship. It's good to get out there and just have your sign. Like it all started for me on the Moral Law Mondays in Pleasant Hill, out by the monument, which is a military monument. It's a monument to fallen soldiers of World War II. And again, I had people say to me, oh, that's a dark location or whatever. But again, we're taking it back. They're creating these monuments. They say it's in honor of these fallen soldiers, but from this perspective, we would say that it's also an attempt to keep us stuck in this um, mindset of war, and respecting people that sign up to go fight wars for that only benefit this dark occult ruling class. It doesn't benefit the people at all. And while a lot of those people may have good intentions, the only way we're going to change the world is to get those people who are following orders to realize the error in their ways. And so again, yeah, it's just um, me standing out there by myself with the little bit of traffic that's going by there. It still generated quite a bit of attention, and people would pull over and come talk to me and pick up information. And it led to a lot of other things. So that's actually one thing that I am going to start up. That'll be on March 22nd. I'm going to get back out there and start doing my Moral Law Mondays. So that'll be part of starting the season of sovereignty. Um, but yeah, then we'll be doing every other weekend events every other Saturday. So we've got Santa Cruz on the 20th, and then we haven't exactly planned where we're all going to be in the next following weekends, but we want to kind of jump around the Bay Area, hit up a bunch of different cities.
Hmm. Yeah, man. Season of sovereignty, right? If you don't know sovereignty, it means not a slave. It's um, your birthright to be an individual, um, owning yourself and being responsible for yourself, and that's what it's all about. It's all about freedom. It's all about sovereignty, and it's all about morality. So that's what we're talking about.
Yeah. And from the perspective that we're coming from, where we're saying natural law, well, a lot of people can call that, or do call that, God's law. And it does imply a creator. It does imply that a creation that has moral laws built into it. And sovereignty means that you are ruling yourself in a way where you're using your logic and your wisdom, and your reason to discover what those laws are and what it is that you have the right to do and what you don't have a right to do. And so by all of us doing this and practicing it, it's self-rule, but it's ruling yourself to fall in line with the rule of the universe, really, right? The
Yeah.
natural law, the cosmic law.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're looking at, humans are not the apex of creation and this reality. There's forces that are above and beyond us that are inherent, meaning we did not create them. The creator and the creator and the creation are all one. We're here to experience ourselves, to gain knowledge, um, and to grow in consciousness. And that's about, learning what we can and can't do. So,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I would say that, the founding fathers were, many of them were actually deists. And I think that if you look up deism, that it's, it makes sense that they were talking about nature's law and nature's God, because deism is basically saying that there is an impersonal God, right? It's a God that is giving us free will to choose and to live and rule ourselves as we choose, or choose to allow someone to rule over us. But the consequences will show us, whether we're on the right path or not. And clearly, the consequences of how we've been living, through our lifetimes are showing loud and clear right now, as you look at the world we're living in, that's going more and more into enslavement, more and more against our rights. And a lot of people, don't even understand that they have rights, and that, that this is important to fight for. They're more concerned with safety, and they're more stuck in the material realm. And really, I think they believe that, man can outsmart God, and can do, you know, can can tinker with creation and make it better. And so you look at someone like Bill Gates, who, if you can imagine that he has good intentions, right? That he's just, this left brain egghead, who's looking at everything, totally, logically, and thinking, how am I going to solve, these problems that, he's perceived, like, overpopulation, or, food shortages, or climate change, or whatever. So he's going to, develop, GMO foods, thinking that he can do it better than the creation itself, than nature itself,
Mm.
blocking out the sun, thinking he can somehow, you know, create a better atmosphere for humanity, lowering the population, eliminating a certain amount of people in order to create some type of balance. And, I think a lot of people are really stuck in that mind frame. And, they believe, I mean, I've had people tell me, I asked somebody, do you, do you think that at some that there will be a time when there will be no illness? Do you think that we can completely outsmart nature with our vaccines and our medicine? And this person straight up told me that, yeah, they believe that there would be a time that man would figure out a way to avoid illness and potentially avoid death. you know
Yeah.
and I mean, I think, a lot of people probably don't think about it that deeply. They're probably just going along to get along. But I do think that that is the underlying motivation, you know.
Yeah. The disconnect from nature, the natural world, is unbelievable. People see illness and they see natural catastrophes as being like evil and chaos. To me, that's just a balance. Nature is perfect in its modalities, meaning that you have the polarities. So there's life and death, there's growth and then decay, and you have these, and they work in tandem and they work perfectly. That is the actual system. But humans, when they're in their egoic driven state, where the ego is in the driver's seat, they they think that they can control that. So they think that they can go above nature, that they can reinvent nature and go above and beyond that. And that's why we see all this artificial shit popping up. Everything that humans do, or mostly right now, especially in the mainstream system, the cultural religions and government and stuff, it's all artificial systems. And that's what the dark occultists and the ruling class, that's what they do. They want to create an artificial system, because if it's artificial, it's in opposition to natural, and that's what they want to do. They're at war with natural law, and they want to constantly be the adversary to that. And they're going to give the people, the majority of people on earth, their thinking as well, and then just have the people do all the grimy work and take the brunt of the karma and all the issues. So
You know, it made me think of the idea of this adversary, and that, it's, people call it Satanism, that's the modern term of what they use. But, these people don't necessarily believe in some, actual physical being named Satan, right? It is your ego. It is that adversarial, oppositional part that's within all of us. And I really think that, everybody listening should take time to consider that little voice in your head, whether it's self-doubt, or if it's just something that, you may be in a positive situation, and then this little voice pops in your head and sort of, plants an idea of like doing something against that, right? Like doing
hmm
that thing that, like, is not the right thing to do. And, I think if you really listen and you do that shadow work, you hear that voice and you realize, like, that we all have it in us. And now extrapolate that to people who maybe have that voice and feed into that voice. And then, ultimately, they believe that they can, get away with doing whatever they want, and, achieving, like, getting as much, being as greedy as they want, or competing against people as much and dominating people as much as they want. And then, that they've built a system that then perpetuates that. Another idea is, our last episode with Patty Logger, where we were talking about illness and health, and how, these symptoms that we go through are actually, they're there for a reason. They're actually sort of a rite of passage, an opportunity for your immune system to get stronger, and possibly even mentally take you to another level. I've noticed with my child that they, when they're ill, there seems to be almost like a growth spurt that happens after that. And it's a natural process, and so with what we've done with the modern medicine is we've tried to avoid all of this illness, and we look at it as a negative thing, as suffering. And we've tried to intervene, on it, and try to fix it. And, once you start to try to fix it, you create more problems. It's like whack-a-mole. you know
hmm yeah.
and, it's just completely out of whack at this point, to where people don't even really understand how their immune system works, or that their immune system is there, to get exposed to things and to learn how to fight those viruses or those bacteria or whatever. So yeah, it's just it's interesting to look at those two different perspectives, but also to be aware that we all have that in us. We all have that oppositional force within us, and it's good to be aware of it.
Yeah, absolutely. When I hear the Wokians or the New Age people, talking about ego death, and I killed my ego with fucking 10 ayahuasca ceremonies. It can't happen. You can't kill your ego. Your ego is responsible for your this physicality, the avatar while you're in this realm, right? So your ego is always there. It's just a difference is the ego running the show? Is it dominant, or do you have your spirit, your soul that you can tap into as well? And what you said about the voices, that's interesting. And this is something that you can actually practice, right? It's like you're walking by, a houseless man that's sitting there holding a sign saying "I'm hungry," and right when you walk by, you have that gut feeling, that voice that's like, "Buy this guy a sandwich," and then immediately right after that, you have another voice that comes in and says, "Oh no, fuck him, he's probably
Yep.
on drugs or something." That's a good example of the higher self, the soul versus the ego.
Yep.
And when you listen to that initial gut feeling, that voice, and then you act on it, you actually can build that signal. It's like you're honing into that connection, and it can get louder. And also, on the opposite, the ego, that voice can get louder, and that's where the majority of people are in. They're in, ego dominant conditions where all they're listening to and all they hear is their ego, and
Yeah.
it's driving their behaviors, their thoughts, their emotions and actions. And that's why it's just a dog eat dog type of world. It's all about the self, me, all that shit. And it's funny what's going on nowadays because they have it. It's like obfuscated. It's in disguise of that you are the good person by looking out for everyone else. So they're actually, it's the perfect way to kill the healthy self, the spirit, that voice inside you, and replace it with the ego.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's what we see nowadays with all these artificial systems, right? What is government? Government is pretty much ego manifest. It's
Right.
like, it's so
Right. Yeah. It's feeding on your fears, right? It's
sure.
I took this out just to like, show you like one of the signs that we use out there. It's one of the most effective ones I find. You
Yeah.
know, the word government means mind control, and
Gubernare.
how do they control us, right? They control us through fear, right? It's this, I mean, it's very clear. And again, I've had people who I've said that to, that they use fear to control us, and I've had people tell me, oh, I don't think they use fear to control us. And I mean, I find that so hard to believe that people don't see that just from watching the news. um Clearly the whole COVID thing, it's like, whether or not it's real, because obviously there's this whole aspect of people shaming you and saying that, oh, if you say it's not real, you're a terrible person because my friend died or my grandparent died or something like that. The point is, 2 years ago, when those same people were dying from pneumonia, from the flu, the fear wasn't being generated on that level. Now, there was a buildup to this way of thinking, and it was done through the measles scare.
Mm.
For over the past few years, they were prepping us for this idea of, we have to avoid these illnesses, and we have to, make sure that everyone's vaccinated, and so, yeah, it's just, um, being aware of that, knowing that that's the reality, and then knowing that, like, in order to combat that it is an energetic war, we have to put out positive energy, and we have to get out there and we have to talk to people, and we're not going to reach everybody. That's just the reality. But if you reach one person and that person can reach another person, that it can expand and exponentially grow. And hopefully with this campaign, we can get other people involved with it. Hopefully it catches on. I was thinking, we can, hashtag it,
Mm-hmm. There you go.
and
Yeah.
use every way possible to just get the idea to catch on. And who knows, maybe it won't, maybe it'll just be us doing it, but I think that it's a good time and opportunity to understand what the season of life is, what the season of death is, what that was considered in ancient times, what the season of sacrifice is, and all the different events that have taken place in this time period, and what sovereignty is, and the idea that true life, if this is the season of life and we want to live really live life the way it was supposed to be lived, then we need to be done with uh uh being ruled by others.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, that's powerful. I'll say one thing, since we've been or I've been going out there with you for a while now, it's charging, right? It's like um you get this high, you're charged energetically after you're out there having conversations with people. And we've had, some some fucking crazies out there and some bad conversations, but also a lot of good conversations,
Yeah.
a lot of good connections, and just planting those seeds. I highly recommend it to anyone to go do that, even if you're by yourself, and you don't have to be full blown confrontational. You can go out there and just generate conversation, and it's different. I think we have to get back to these kind of old school tactics, especially with going with the censorship and the digital era. These old school techniques are going to come back, and they're gonna definitely have an impact. And I mean, film yourself, do a live when you're out there, and just show that, be the example.
All right.
So you got to set the pace and do something different. And getting out there is definitely the way to go.
Yeah, and another good part about getting out there is, I was telling you that I had watched this documentary about the Essenians, and
Mm.
and that people believe that Yeshua was an Essenian, and that one of the comments that he made, and I guess it's in the Bible, is that uh, you can't heal your own family. A healer can't heal their own family, and the reason is because your family won't believe that you have the ability to heal, because they look at you as that little snotty nosed kid running around who didn't know shit.
Mhm.
And so when you go out, and get offline, who basically we all know online it's already an echo chamber, and most people who maybe don't think the way that I think, they're already not listening to me, they've already muted me. I'm not in their feed anymore, so most of the people in my feed are people that are already kind of on the same page. So by getting out and going into the public, not only are you um, having an opportunity to talk to people, where with family, like for me, I can't talk to my family about this stuff. It's basically the conversation's over before it begins. But when you go out in public and you're holding a sign, and I'm not yelling anything at people, they're just reading my sign, and that a certain amount of them want to engage with me, now I can see where humanity is, through this other person, where the state of mind is, where they're coming from, their fear level, and how they're looking at this. And over time, we've gotten better at keeping our energy positive, staying mellow. It gets passionate sometimes, but being clear and concise in what we're saying. And yeah, I mean, I think it's an opportunity that you don't normally have online, and you also don't have with your own family and friends, because I mean, if you're anything like me, at this point they're pretty much all tired of hearing about it, and they clearly don't agree with my position. So at
Mhm.
least by going out there, I have an opportunity to now tap into some people who, may not hear this from anybody else, So
Yeah, man, for sure. It's you learn a lot about yourself as well when you're out there face to face having a real conversation. I feel like the seed is planted harder when you're online and you're going back and forth in comments, social media, that type of shit. It has a minimal effect,
yeah,
right? When you're face to face with someone, you have to be really grounded in yourself, and you have to know yourself very well, because it's really easy to get triggered,
yeah,
right? The person that you're interacting with is already coming, from a, an emotional stance, especially if you're talking about relevant topics. It's good to keep it simple. John and I, we stick to morality and rights and the basic topics, because that's getting to the root of it. And you can give all the examples you want about false flags, or the unlimited amount of times that government has fucked the people in some way, right? But if you can get to the root on morality, everything else will fall into place once you can easily prove. It's just a matter if they're going to accept that or listen and use logic and reason. Prove that government is illegitimate from inception. So that's where we like to go is start from the basics and principles and the foundation.
Right. And we also call it breaking the algorithm or outsmarting the algorithm, because
Yeah.
now you've got someone, even if they're hating on you, filming you or taking a picture of you, if they're posting that on their, Instagram or Facebook, then that's getting the message out there, where when we post it, we're going to get shadow banned and stuff like that. So,
You got to get creative,
exactly,
right?
exactly. So, um, also, one thing I wanted to talk about before we wrap this up is, so May 1st is the high holy holiday for the dark occult. What's it called? Valpurgisnacht or something
Yeah.
like that?
Yep. Valpurgisnacht.
Valpurgisnacht, which means something night.
Um. Oh man, that's a good question. I should know that.
Yeah. It also happens to be May Day, the communist holiday. So make of that what you will.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that's the end of the 40-day period, of what they consider the season of sacrifice. Um, and yeah, look at a date that lands in that time frame is 420, 419.
420 is Hitler's birthday as well.
You've got Columbine, you've got the Randy Weaver shooting, you've got the Ruby Ridge shooting, the Waco, the Oklahoma
Boston,
City bombing, um,
the
I,
Boston Marathon.
I believe the assassination of Martin Luther King fell in that time.
Yeah.
And it's obviously, they pull off these events throughout the whole year, but just beware, keep your head on a swivel, and know that they like to create these events and create this negative energy in this time frame. And so again, we're trying to take it back. We're trying to put something positive in the air, and we're calling it the season of sovereignty. And it'll kick off this Saturday, March 20th at 5:30 in Santa Cruz. um, Again, we'll be out there a little bit earlier, have our table set up. We're going to be live streaming the event if you can't make it out there. And I did want to say one more thing, is that I do highly recommend going to Funky Fathers on Facebook, the Funky Fathers page. You can donate $10 or more if you feel like it, directly to Mike Mattingly, and we will email you the digital copy of his album with the artwork as well. And there's some really powerful music on there that I think it really needs to get spread out and heard by people. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think
Yeah,
people need to be
Mike's a
aware.
phenomenal musician, and just the messages he has in these songs, some of the best out there. So support freedom music, support an artist. He's looking to do full blown professional studio recording with some of the donations with his full band, and so yeah, man,
Yeah,
support freedom music and artists.
exactly. All right, well, I think that is where we will wrap it up. Good job, Will.
Yeah, man, that was good, man.
Yeah, we've got some good interviews coming up in the next couple of weeks, so we're excited about that.
Yeah, some hot ones.
Yeah. And
Or
always
cold.
remember, put something good in the air and plant something good in the earth. Peace.
Gia.
We be the natural freedom league, cause we become no longer unvegan. We seek in the wisdom, and that's why we did come to this prison of prism. And that's why the beat thumps, and that's why we speak up. We be the natural freedom league, cause we become no longer unvegan. We seek in the wisdom, and that's why we did come to this prison of prism. And that's why the beat thumps, and that's why we speak up. We be